ending this. And now for the user model, we also have to write tests. The user model, we have to test every single class in here, every single unit, every single method in here to make sure that they work the way we want them to. So that's what we're going to do next. Model testing. And now for the model test, we're going to do the same thing we do. This is new Dart test file, user model. Boom. Now, do you remember the 3 questions that we had for each unit test? We had 3 questions. First of all, what is our dependency? What does our unit depend on? Secondly, how do we fake the dependency? How do we create a fake version of it? We use Mocktail. And finally, how do we control what that fake version does? Still using the Mocktail APIs. But in this case, we can go over to our user model. The user model does not have any dependencies. It does not depend on anything at all. Right? So there's no external stuff that it depends on. So in this case, our unit doesn't really have a real dependency. The user model does not really depend on anything at all. You can see there's nothing that we're collecting in the constructor that has to do with a dependency, basically, like something that we take in the constructor that we have to use across the other functions or in even one function at all. So in that case, we can just go ahead. We don't need to mock anything at all. And go ahead and start. Right. So in this case, we're going to introduce something called a group. Right. So first of all, you've seen the test. Right. The test is this. It will give you the ability to run tests on a particular unit or on a particular method, right? Now we have the group. The group lets you group tests, right? So you can name the group. So for example, in this case, we have the from JSON or from map. Let's start with from map, right? And inside of the from map, then we can have different tests, right? Test 1, and we can have a second test and so forth. Right, so but then first of all, let me remove this. The first test that you always want to run for your models is to make sure that the model is a subclass of the entity. Right, so test should be a subclass of user entity. So let's go ahead and arrange. So we can arrange by saying final T model is equal to user model.empty. So we have an empty user model. We can go ahead and say that model. So we can expect. So we're going straight to assertion. So we don't act because we don't need to act. Right? We don't need to act because there's no functions to call. So we just go to assert. We don't have to act on anything. We just want to make sure that the T model is a. So when you want to check that something is a something, you put is a, and then you put angle brackets, and then you tell it what you're expecting that it will be a type of. So we expect that it will be a user, and then we invoke the isA function. Right, so we want that to run. Let's go ahead and see. We want to expect that the T model is a user, and we can see that passes. It's a subclass of the user entity. Right, so let's go ahead with the next test. So what unit are we going to test? What method are we testing this time?